But I think the main things is at the end of the day, volleyball is volleyball. It's in the same 9x9 court, and the rules are the same. So we. Is that on the back of your shirt?
Yeah, it's on the back of the shirt.
A little free shout out for you. And it doesn't matter who's on the other side of the net. You need to still execute to the best of your ability if you want a chance to win.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of the 9x9. It is episode 105. My name is Everett Delorme from Toronto. That, as always, is Mr. Rob St. Clair from Chi-Town, Chicago. And this is the 81 square meters of the best volleyball content on the internet. Is your birthday or something?
Do? I don't
what
know
was that?
I don't know. I don't know what I just did, but some balloons just popped up on my screen. I honestly have no idea how I did that.
That was interesting.
So weird.
Yeah. How did you make that happen?
I do not know. I have no idea how I did that. So maybe if I just do a peace sign, then it.
This is.
Oh my God! It actually did.
Oh
I just made a peace sign and it brought up balloons. Okay. Oh my God! Look at this. This is hilarious.
You have like TikTok filters on? Like what is going on over there, St. Clair?
I think. Wait a minute. Okay,
he spends one weekend at the VLA, and all of a sudden.
All right, I figured it out. Actually, I'm glad you brought the VLA up because Apple saved me over the weekend because Apple installed a new feature in their Mac software where if your Mac is on the same Wi-Fi network as your iPhone, you can use your iPhone's camera as a video source for your Mac wirelessly, which is amazing. And I think with that, there's some new like video controls. And I think I had these like default reactions. Yeah, here we go. I had these like reactions unbeknownst to me, like turned on this camera. And so it was just popping up balloons all the time. But I'm going to go ahead and turn those off. We don't really need that.
Yeah, that's we
that
don't.
Was so funny. That was completely random.
This is a serious show, guys. Come on, Rob. I'm upset that you're not taking it seriously. That being said, there's been a lot of volleyball going on. Rob, you were down in San Diego for week 1 of the VLA this past weekend. I tuned into that. Shocker, another tier 2 team was better than the tier 1 teams in the VLA. But before we get into that, we actually have some international volleyball news. And let's just jump right into it, Rob. We have the VNL schedule live and ready to go for this summer's VNL. We've got the Canadian women. I love how NORCECA just did the women.
They did both. This one's the
they?
men. Yeah, it's actually a very useful graphic from our friends at NORCECA, uncharacteristic from them. But yeah, this is the men. This is the Canadian men's schedule. And I have the Canadian women's schedule too. Don't you worry. So obviously the VNL schedule is influenced by who is versus who is not already qualified for the Olympics. So you got to keep that in perspective. Canada is qualified, but I look there in the center of the screen. I look at Ottawa, Canada, and I see 2 bangers. I see Canada, Cuba on that Tuesday night, just like last year. And I see Canada versus the United States on Saturday night, just like last year as well.
Yeah, love it. A little bit of different from last year. They will actually be playing in the second time slot though, so it's the mid-afternoon game. So that means we have to. I forget what it's like. Argentina versus someone after it. So we're going to be pretty drunk for that last game. So yeah, that'll be a thing. But I mean, I think the FIVB learned from a couple years ago when they didn't have the USA. Like, USA is gonna draw numbers. Is
100%
is gonna pull big numbers.
That crowd last year was awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
I was getting so many things yelled at me in French. It was fantastic. I loved it.
Oh yeah, the JP and the boys were giving it to you. I love that as well. But yeah, I like our schedule. I mean, let's be honest. We're one of those few teams that know. I mean, we're one of those teams that knows we're going to the Olympics. So everything is in preparation for that. I wish we could have a little bit better matchups in Ottawa. In general, not even in terms of Team Canada, but for the week of Ottawa, like there's not that many banger matches. Like there is Italy versus France, which should be a good one, and I think Italy versus USA as well, which should be another good one. But I think in the past years, we've had like Brazil and we've had Poland, so it's missing out a little bit of some of that star power.
But you know who's going to bring the star power? You and me, we're going to be there. We'll make up for the star power with our own shenanigans. Similarly,
That is
the
for sure.
United States men's schedule. I mean, so we go to Turkey, then Canada, then the Philippines. In Ottawa, we get Argentina, then Italy, then Serbia, then Canada, which is actually pretty dope. And then the U.S. guys are done on Saturday, so they're one of those few teams that doesn't have to play Sunday in Ottawa.
That'll be interesting.
It will be interesting. I just hope that, like, I mean, the U.S. is already qualified for the Olympics. I hope that we bring the guys to Canada, just because it's the closest geographically, and if there were a time to bring the guys to use it as a training ground for the top roster, I think it would be Ottawa. You're going to see good teams there. You're going to see Serbia, who's super duper hungry because they're one of those teams that desperately needs every win for Olympic qualification, and then no matter who you see from Argentina and Italy, it's going to be a good game, and Canada is going to be a good game. So I hope we bring the squad to that, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if we sent a B team weeks 1 and 3.
Yeah, that's fair. Send a bit of a B team for the travel and keep it at home. But then again, last year, we talked to some of the players in Ottawa, and they're like, no, we all wanted to be here. Like, we all committed to this run. It'll be interesting to see how they gauge that, how Coach Sproul wants to deal with that team, especially how early. Like, you're not seeing those wrong. Those first dates have a 5. Like, the week 1 is in May this
it's
year.
insane.
Like, when Champions League finals would have been happening in past years, this is when
VNL week 1
is VNL week 1 to adjust to the Olympics happening, of course, later on in the summer in Paris. So it's going to be a bit of a shotgun. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of the teams just go all out, right? Like for Canada, for example, like maybe we can rest Mar for a little bit, but I don't even think we have that luxury.
Interesting. I'm kind of leaning the opposite way. I think that you're going to see a lot of B teams week 1, maybe even more than usual. But we've got a lot more time later on this summer.
Oh yeah,
to
no,
talk about that.
absolutely. Week 1. I mean,
Yeah.
once again, Canada, like we don't necessarily have the luxury, so I doubt we'll be seeing much of a B team from us. Like maybe 1 or 2 things. We'll see about that. But definitely week 2. That's why I love the fact that Ottawa's in week 2, because we might be getting like the full teams, Like if we if we get to see Italy full team, that would be nice.
That would be sweet. I haven't seen Micheletto in person before. That would be awesome.
Me neither.
Let's take a look at Cuba. Cuba is a huge team to watch this summer. Look at that first match, week 3. That's the big one. Cuba versus Serbia on June 19th in Slovenia. I'm really bummed that this match isn't in Canada so that we would get to see it. But remember that Cuba and Serbia are the 2 teams chasing each other down for 1 spot based on world ranking for the last spot in the Olympics. And that head-to-head match right there between the 2 of them, especially because it's the last week, and that cutoff is the end of VNL week 3 in the preliminary round. That's going to be like the last chance for both Cuba and Serbia to throw any punches they've got, and they play each other that week. That might be the game of the entire tournament right there.
I think that's a massive week for Cuba in general, with Serbia, Slovenia, and Bulgaria. I think if they can really push themselves to go like 3-1 in that week, if they can get those 3 wins, and then whatever happens, Poland happens. Like I think at this point, anytime you match up against Poland, unless you're USA or Italy, maybe France, you're gonna assume that's gonna be a loss.
Probably an L.
Right. So that's what I'm going to be really interested to see. I didn't get a chance to like look at strength of schedule for Cuba versus Serbia, because like that's the big race, right?
Yep.
Who, at the end of the VNL, like we're going to be one of those 2. So that they play either of those teams, they're going to be hungry.
Right. Yeah, I'm going to crunch some numbers on strength of schedule like later on in the year before we get into VNL. But yeah, it's interesting to look at this now that it's released. Last but not least, let's look at the Canadian women. The Canadian women, one of those teams that is not qualified for the Olympics yet, needs every single point worth of world ranking that they can get. Everett, this schedule is not easy.
No, I was looking at it the other day when it came out, and I was just like, oh man, like. Yeah, and that's the thing and this is the thing with our women's team that I'll be fully, it's a toss up most of the time. Actually, I'm not even just say with our women's team, with our men's team as well, 100%. Like it is a toss up. Like, do I believe we can beat some of the best teams in the world? Absolutely. Do I think we can lose to some of the worst teams in the world? absolutely, like we saw last year in the
Thailand.
VNL, like
Yeah.
losing to Thailand and stuff, like beating Serbia but losing to Thailand. For us, it's going to be the second last match down at the bottom there against the Netherlands. Like that is who we are going after. But you look week to week, it's going to be really hard to find those points. Like week 1, right off the bat, Brazil, Dominican Republic, China, and Thailand.
That's tough, dude.
That's tough. I mean, if we can come out 2-2 from that week, like that's looking good. Like I really think that for us to qualify for the Olympics, we need to really push the envelope. Like not only do we need to beat the Dominican Republic, and like once again, remember, had we beaten the Dominican Republic in the Olympic qualifier, like we would have qualified, they wouldn't have, right?
Mhm.
It was that 1-5 setter that really made that difference. But if we can if we can beat the Dominican Republic and get an upset against a team like Brazil or China, 2 teams that we have beaten as of recent, then that will kind of set the tone. But then it's
And
not.
maybe you get lucky too and catch a couple of those teams with B teams week 1. I mean, that can help. And Kenny in the chat says Thailand is an easy win for Canada. You would think so, but they lost to them last year. Like,
Yeah, exactly. So
the only free win on this list is Korea.
No,
obviously.
And remember is that race between Canada and the Netherlands is much larger than it is for Serbia, Cuba. Like we're trailing by a good decent chunk. So not only are we going to need to win the 50-50 games, but we're going to need to win the games that are maybe not in our favor, like the 60-40s, right? We're going to need to upset a top 5 team at some point down the line.
Best thing Canada, the Canadian women, best thing they have going for them is maybe the teams that have already qualified aren't playing their best lineups.
100%. So, and I mean, the reality is that of all the top teams, we've beaten them all except for the United States in the past few years. So,
and the United States to me is pretty darn beatable.
Yeah. So maybe we pack that in week 2 in Arlington. We should maybe we'll see if we can go to Arlington too. That might be fun.
Actually, that's possible. We'll have to look into that.
We got a bit of we do have a bit of budget this year, given what happened. So maybe we tack on both. But that look into that later. But yeah, this is a massive VNL for this team. There's no doubt about it. And there's also going to be a lot of travel. Actually, there's a lot of travel, but it's two weeks, like
Western Hemisphere,
are in the Western Hemisphere.
Yeah, so that's a pretty good break. It could be a lot worse.
100%. So, I mean, hey, it's going to be a battle, and it really what happens on the stretch happens on the stretch. But it won't be easy.
No, it won't. All right. Plenty more time before VNL starts, but we wanted to get that out there. Speaking of Canadian volleyball, the Canadian head men's national team coach is very much in the news because Tuomas Samelvuo, as of yesterday morning, less than a year after winning the CEV Champions League with the club, Tuomas Samelvuo has been fired as the head coach of ZAKSA Kędzierzyn Koźle. We have a lot to get into about this. The Poland channel in the Discord has been popping off. There are lots of rumors. This is what the Discord is all about right here.
This is one of those things that, like, before any of this was announced, the Poland channel has been talking a little bit a while now about Samelvuo. And one of the days this weekend, I even told you, Rob, like, go back, because I had been seeing it pop up, and I just asked him, and I was like, guys, like, what are we thinking about Samelvuo? Because, from an outsider's perspective, it's hard to see, but you guys are talking about how, they're seeing different interactions and timeouts, about how when Gerbic is talking during a Poland timeout, like, Slivka doesn't talk. But right away, as soon as ZAKSA goes in timeout, Slivka jumps into it. Like, so many things that the Discord was noticing, like, they are a little bit of Nostradamus over there, just predicting what is happening.
So the most confusing part about this firing to me is the timing, because remember a couple weeks ago, I think it was about 3 weeks ago, ZAKSA got 3-donged by Skra Belchatov in the Plusliga, and Skra is not good this year. They also got 3-donged by Olympiacos in Champions League, which is about as bad of a loss as a team like that can stomach. And it was after that when I think it would have made a lot of sense to make a change, the type of change of potentially moving on from your head coach. But after that, ZAKSA rebounded a little bit. They hosted NAC Roussillare in Champions League, went down 0-2, and we'll talk about Champions League in just a minute. But then you and I, Everett, both kind of saw a little switch flip. We saw ZAKSA turn a little bit of a corner and look like ZAKSA again, and they made a heroic comeback to reverse sweep and win that match. And then they 3-dong Stal Nissa in like a derby rivalry game in the Plusliga over the weekend. And then you fire your coach? So the timing of that doesn't make sense. It to me, I have to think that the decision had already been made weeks before, right?
100%. To me, the already been made, and they just didn't know who was going to be the next in line. They didn't know who was going to be stepping in next. They hadn't made their decisions. So to me, like, has there been? I don't think there has been an announcement of who's stepping in next.
It's one of their assistants is just stepping up.
Sorry, excuse me. But yeah, to me, it was interesting. It's clear, like, there has to have been some turmoil from the back end, right?
Definitely.
Because otherwise, like this team was just turning things around. And I mean, turning things around, let's be honest, they played 2.5 sets, or like 2 sets realistically good against a team that they should have been beating, right? That they should have been 3-donging, and then 3-donged a team that they should have 3-donged. You know, like we started talking about it last week about how, like, it was getting to the point where you couldn't really blame it on the injuries anymore. And it was a really, it was a really hard start to their season, especially in a league as tough as the Plusliga. But I don't know. Like, it's there has to have been turmoil on the back end for them to have made this call like this early, just as things were starting to get better.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me too. Another piece of timing is the timing of Alexander Schliefke's injury, because my assessment of, and I don't know any of this. This is just like my take from watching on the other side of the world. Alexander Schliefke is a pretty quiet dude. He's not all that demonstrative. He's not like overwhelmingly like commanding of attention. No. The guy who I think kind of is that way is Łukasz Kaczmarek. I think he is going to be a little like quicker to speak up when he doesn't agree with something that's going on. But it actually, to me, seems like there's a chance that Schliefke is kind of the engine of this. I think when he got hurt and was no longer playing and could fully like take a step back and see what was going on the court from a bird's eye view instead of being in the middle of it, I think that he might have more to do with this move than we initially thought.
You may not be wrong, and I mean, hey, the Discord is throwing around some conspiracy theories. There's a clip and a few Instagram posts and Instagram stories from their game over the weekend where Kaczmarek is leaning over the backboards talking to Schliefke, and then serves an ace. And his caption that he posted is "Thanks, coach," when in talking to Schliefke. And like I said, like, there's like, once again, like our Discord is so on it, and like they were on this before it had even been announced and had been talking about it. And they talk about how there's this one interview with Schliefke, and they talk about his best coaches, and he mentions Gerbic, and he mentions Cretu. He even mentions Piazza, who he's never worked with before, but no mention of Samuel Vuo. So there's been a few things that have been kind of telling down the line here. And I mean, there was a stat put once again in the Discord that like ZAKSA has lost 37% of their matches since Samuel Vuo has been the head coach, which is basically the same level as like Olsztyn or no, Gdansk. One of the two.
But they won a Champions League in that time. Like this is the crazy thing in volleyball about coaching changes. Now there clearly was something going on the back end. So there was clearly some off-court things going on. It doesn't seem like the communication, but from front office to coach to players, was truly in sync across the board. But this man won you a Champions League less than a year ago. This man took a team like Canada and in maybe 2 months of being there, got them to qualify for the Olympics. Like, it's clear that Thomas Samelvo's like on-court X's and O's coaching ability is world-class. So there's something else to this that we just don't know. Because the adversity that ZAKSA has gone through this year is very well documented. This has been an extremely difficult season for them. They've had a lot of instability at so many key positions. Remember, Marcin Janusz was out forever. They had to pick up a third string setter like off the street.
Dude, they had like guys who were playing for their like they had guys who have like literally regular jobs playing for their third place team, like traveling across the country and then matches. Like
so that's so much adversity. I'm still of the take that how much of that can you truly blame on the coach? I think there's so much more to it than just the coaching, except for clearly there's some sort of dynamic on the back end that I think is really pulling the strings here.
Well, there is rumors that ZAKSA wasn't too happy about how late he got to Poland because he was with Team Canada at the Olympic qualifiers, right? And that most of the other teams would have had, you know, their head coach in place. And even if their stars weren't there, they were able to kind of get a few things in motion, even though, like, when you think about it, like Winiarski wouldn't have been there. Weber wouldn't have
have the
been
most
there.
ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I mean, hey, you know, who knows? Right.
So maybe Everett, maybe this is a good thing for you. Tuomas Samovo is now a free agent. He has nothing to focus on except Team Canada's summer of 2024. Because
yes and no. Yes,
well,
and no.
There's no way he's going to jump into a club job in the middle of the season.
But maybe if one of the reasons that he wasn't able to is because of that international job. And he values, and like, let's be honest, he can probably make more coaching club and
for sure
more coaching professionally. So if coaching internationally is one of those, like, those barriers to him, like, making money, who knows? Like, maybe he decides that coaching Canada is too hard, right? Like, once again, like, I have seen so many international coaches come through Canada, and like, that's just our history. Like, throughout the entirety,
do not last very long.
And they like, sometimes they do. And I mean, there are some great international coaches in the history of Canadian coaches, but especially recently, historically, they don't last very long. And Semyon Vuo is still Semyon Vuo, right? He still led Russia before. He still did what he did with Team Canada this summer. He still won a Champions League. Like, he still has a fantastic resume, and most teams probably wouldn't let him go regardless of the situation, right? So he's gonna be getting offers. So it's gonna be very interesting. I never take anything for granted when it comes to Canadian coaching at this point. I've seen too many things over the years.
Never a boring time in volleyball. We will see if this helps turn ZAKSA around. We will see if they go back the wrong direction after this. I have no idea, but what we do know is that ZAKSA will continue on playing in the Champions League. My goodness, what a dramatic week we had last week. The 11-team Champions League playoff bracket is set on both the men's and the women's sides. ZAKSA gets in by the skin of their teeth. They were in overtime in the third set against a Belgian team down 2-0 and had to rescue it, win it in 5 to clinch a spot. And now, once again, in classic ZAKSA fashion, they have a gauntlet. Halkbank Ankara in the first round.
It's crazy. So, like, we're going to talk about last week in a second, of course, but just for now, it's crazy about how the 3 like playoff matchups to get into the quarters. You have Game 1, ZAKSA versus Halkbank. Two of the top 4 teams from last year's tournament, the 3-time defending champs against, the third place team from last year. Then in the middle bracket, you have Toulouse versus Berlin, which is 2 like very strong teams that are consistently in the Champions League from like pretty good countries. And then in the last bracket, you have Guagas against Prague. Right, what the F am I doing here bracket? Like,
thanks for participating bracket.
Thanks for participating, but one of them is going to move on. Yeah. One of these 2 teams, Guagas and Prague, is going to be in the quarterfinals, whereas one of these 2 teams, Halkbank and ZAKSA, is going to be going home. Like, that is just Champions League.
It's hilarious.
You gotta love it.
It's hilarious. So shout outs to Guaguas, by the way, because they weren't even directly qualified to the main round of Champions League. They had to qualify through those like preliminary stages, and they did that, and they made it out of pools, and they honestly have a pretty real chance to go to the Champions League quarterfinals, which is insane. So shout out to Graham Vigras and the boys. You know who the real winner is here, though? Zerot Bank.
Yeah.
Zerot Bank, of all teams, nobody could have picked this. The number 1 seed overall, the only team to go 6-0 in the Champions League main round. Zerot Bank out of Turkey, and they get a cakewalk of a quarterfinal matchup against the winner of Guaguas and Prague. Like you can pencil in Zerot Bank into the semifinals right here, right now.
I mean, hey, I'm not going to be doing any penciling at this point. We've seen too many weird things happen down the stretch. Like, could you have imagined that Tools would have beat Resovia twice, especially with the way that Tools started this season? Like, there's been so many random acts to happen so far in this Champions League. But hey, now this is where we go. The bottom half of the bracket is definitely way more loaded than the top half of the bracket. Like the bottom half of the bracket is where the gauntlet is, and I'm going to go as far as to say that the winner is going to come from the bottom half of the bracket.
Okay. Let me read them down really quick just for our audio listeners. The early rounds, I guess it's like kind of the 8th finals. I think they call it the play-in round or something. You got Guaguas versus Prague, and the winner plays Zerot Bank. You got Halkbank versus ZAKSA, the winner plays Lube. And you got Tours versus Berlin, the winner plays Trentino. And then that other quarterfinal that we already know is set is Piacenza versus JSW. And that actually is a series I'm really excited about too. But right now, I'm looking at this bracket. I don't see any team in this bracket beating Trentino.
No, not right now.
I don't see it.
I mean,
don't see anybody in this bracket beating Trentino.
That could change down the stretch without a doubt. But right now, the way that they're playing, they're hands down. They are hands down the best team in volleyball
by far and away.
No doubt about it. Like, once again, like, the way they answered this weekend, like the way they bounce back, the way you can beat them, and they're just like, all right, we're just going to adjust real quick, and then beat you 3 straight.
Impressive.
Yeah.
So the first rounds of these play-in series. Remember, this is Champions League playoffs. These are home and away 2-match series with golden set potential. The first 3 games of all 3 of those series are a week from today. So next Tuesday. That's going to be very fun. But we got to catch up on what happened in the last week of the regular round, because this was bananas.
B-N-A-N-A-S.
That's right.
Like that.
I do like that. So Budiovice beat Guaguas in 5, but we already basically knew that once Guaguas, actually all they needed to do was take a set.
Yeah.
And they tied it at 1-1, and unless JSW got swept by Lundberg, which is the exact opposite of what happened, then Guaguas was going to get second in that pool. So nothing really to talk about there. Zerot Bank beat Olympiacos in a 3-dong. I was curious about that one because Zerot had already clinched first in the pool. Were they going to play all the starters? And they did. And they looked good. And that did the favor to, we can skip to the very last match, ZAKSA versus NAC Rusolari, because knocking Olympiacos out by losing that game meant that the winner of ZAKSA versus NAC Rusolari head-to-head got second in the pool and made it out. And it was as close as it could get. It was as close as it could get. And I got to give this little Belgian team so much credit, man.
I mean, this little Belgian team is really starting to show the strength of Belgian volleyball, and I think you need to, like, I would go almost as far as to call them being a part of the 2028 Olympics. Like, that's what we're seeing. Sepe Roti on the right side is an absolute really monster. He had 31. He isn't. Hey, you're stealing my thunder here, St. Clair. I had this all prepared. Okay, he had 31 points on the right side in this one. He was 24 for 48. He had a block and 6 aces. He is dynamic from the baseline. He has power. He has good technique, and that's the thing. He is actually a left side. Last year, like, he's only playing on the right side right now because that's where Roselaire needs him. Right. Last year, when they had Kirk Kartsev, the Argentinian, he was the best passer in the Belgian league. So when you add him in the mix on the left side, you have him, you have Daru, you have Riegers on the right side,
and Matisse de Smet, who's playing in Italy.
Yeah, as well. Like, that is a good core. The only thing Belgium is missing right is a young veteran coming up the ranks. And I think someone in the Discord, I think Zood or someone said that there's a guy coming up kind of similar to Poro. So I'm saying
Ooh.
watch Belgium, but this was a really good one. It was, in my opinion, a bit of a Belgian choke, and these Belgians tend to waffle under pressure.
Belgian waffles. I see what you did there, buddy. That was a good one. Yeah, this Roti kid is really good. He's a 2001 birth year, and he's 1 meter 90, and he's dropping 33 in a Champions League game, 31 in a Champions League game at opposite with this. So that's sick. Good for him. But ZAKSA did what ZAKSA does, man. There's something in this team. It's still down there somewhere. It's down there somewhere. The ability to dig deeper than any other team and resurrect themselves from any hole that they can dig themselves of any depth and get back and figure it out. And the biggest difference to me, he only scored 9 points. I don't care. David Smith being back is a huge difference maker. Huge difference maker. And Bartosz Bednor's turned it on when he needed it. 23 for 39 in the match is quite good.
Yeah, Bednor's. There was a moment in the third set, and like let me look here. Like he four in the first. I guess he had five in the second, so he was pretty good all the way through. But there was just like he had a different attitude about him. Like, oh yeah, he was 71 points efficiency, or 71% efficiency in the third set. So he was. Yeah, and the same thing he was 5 for 7 with a block, 2 in the fifth. So 6 alone in the sixth. There was definitely a moment in time in that third set where you could just kind of see him change his attitude and just kind of like, no, like I'm sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of us playing like this. I mean, I think someone said that they had lost 13 straight sets before that point.
That's right. Yeah, that they were in a middle of a rough stretch because it was Olympiacos, Skra. I think they got donged by Zerat the week before, and then 2 sets to Roeselare. Yeah, like it was about as bad as it could get, and somehow ZAKSA dug deep and pulled it out. I don't know how they keep doing it, but they did it. And then they fired their coach afterwards.
and then they fired their coach afterwards. But maybe that's the thing. Like maybe this was more of a player-led initiative. Let's say. We only have a little bit of insight inside of that team. So.
Yeah, not much, but it was a crazy match. It was the last one that was still going on that had yet to be decided of anything of consequence. So that was pretty thrilling. JSW donged Lundberg, Prague donged Galazzi, whatever. Those didn't really end up being that significant. A match that I was hoping would be a lot better. Piacenza going into Berlin and smacking the recycling volleys. Yikes.
This one wasn't even close. Like
not close.
It was a complete and utter domination. Like even the second set that was close on paper wasn't ever close in spirit, right? Nope. And it was really one of the few times, and it's really too bad that Berlin wasn't able to defend their home court like they had like they had. Who they beat again?
They beat Halkbank there, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're right. That's exactly what they did. Yep.
You had it was a bad Mark Shotolo game, and he's their number one scorer, and without him they are truly nothing. And he was pretty bad at 2 points on 2 for 13 with 4 errors. Like that's terrible. And then unfortunately Berlin subjected us to crick talk at the end of that game. Which was painful. I forgot that he was even there, and then saw him on my screen and got angry. But
it's
Piacenza dominated. Look at Yuri Romano, dude. 15 for 25 and 4 aces.
Yeah, what was getting him going for that one? What was why were we graced to a fantastic Yuri Romano game? Usually he only has those ones in like, hey, this is gut check time. Like I need to make this happen.
And Piacenza put in the bench in the third set and still like cakewalked.
Yeah. Still did not make a difference. I mean, their bench is still damn pretty good.
Yeah, it is.
Like they brought in Landy, like they brought in Leal, Romy Alonso, and Robert Andringa.
Yeah, that'll work. Those are all national team starters.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, it is what we should expect in reality, but I still expect like a little bit more from
From
Berlin in that
Berlin.
situation.
And now their next matchup is going to be against Tours, who I'm very impressed by. They took care of Ljubljana. And like you said it earlier, Everett, as bad as Tours was at the start of the year, they were bad, and they didn't even have a Booba this game. They haven't had a Booba for a couple Champions League games. I don't even think they had him last week when they beat Resovia. But Tours going back to the Champions League playoffs, and that's pretty darn good for the only French team. Then you had Halkbank. Oh boy, the Halkbank situation, man. All they needed to do was go into Portugal and beat Benfica. And we've said it before. I feel bad for Benfica because that's a pretty good team playing in by far the hardest pool in the tournament. But had Halkbank lost this game, they would be dead. Like they would not have made it out. And actually, there was a path there for a little while as Halkbank was losing. There was a path for Resovia to get in, which would have been ridiculous given their tournament they've had. But did you watch any of this Halkbank game? What did you think about it?
I did not watch any of this Halkbank game, Rob. So I mean, I think Halkbank, they have two of the streakiest players in volleyball right now, period, in Ingapeth and Namir. And if those streaks are happening at the same time, this can be legitimately anyone, right? Let's be honest. If you have Namir at peak efficiency and Namir at peak power and Angapeth playing like Angapeth and passing the ball like he does and swinging like he does, then yeah, this team is going to be really, really good. But if those teams aren't on, and unfortunately, I think this season we've also seen somewhat volatility isn't the word, but just a little bit of uneven play from Micah Ma'a as well. So there's just a few things happening around that Halkbank team that, you know, they're a very emotional team. They're a very fun team. Like this, when this team is having fun, they're having fun, but they don't really manage those emotions too well.
No, they don't. And Irvin Ingapeth was garbage in this game. Not good at all. And I think, I mean, we know Irvin. We know him. We've seen him many a time when he has the ability to phone it in and not care about what he's doing more than any other player in the world. And it shows, and it infects his entire team when he's in a bad mood. And that's what I saw, because I had this game on at least a little bit, because I mean, there were a bunch of games all happening at the same time. Thank you, CEV, for that.
Well, this was they had to do it because it's the last week.
Right, and because they don't want anybody to be manipulating things. Yeah, Irvin was terrible, and Gord Perrin off the bench, I thought, was a huge X factor in helping them get this over the finish line. Mirza Lagumsha was okay.
I mean, that's it right there. You start Gord, probably wouldn't have been a 3-dong. So, you know what? Like
Namir 31, 26 for 42, 9 errors. 3 aces and 2 blocks, 62% kills is off the chart. So that's his best game outside of the Turkish league in a while.
Yeah, that is, and I mean, he's been killing it in the Turkish league. I was looking over some stats. It's basically Namir and Rob's best friend leading in every statistical category.
Hadrava? Hadrava
is killing it in the Turkish
I know.
league.
For Galatasaray, I saw a clip of him wearing like the LeBron James like carbon fiber mask playing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know what was up with that.
Yeah, Hadrava is fourth in scoring. He's averaging 5.16 points per match.
Hey, we're talking about Champions League. We don't have to talk about Hadrava work because he's not in there. Good thing too, because he doesn't belong. Wanted to shout out Pierce Shchenko too. He had a pretty good Champions League for Benfica. I thought he held his own pretty well against a difficult group of middles he was playing against.
Yeah, I mean, I'd expect him to at this point. He's played a couple seasons in the national team. He's been to the Champions League before. I've been in the Champions League now, so I expect him. He's kind of like the next generation of Lucas Van Brugel. Just big and dependable coming from Trinity Western.
I like that. We don't need to talk about Lube versus Mosaic, but Trentino versus Resovia was kind of interesting. Resovia did win the match.
Yeah.
So Resovia actually was able to beat Trentino, hand them their first loss. But after Trentino won 2 sets, it no longer mattered for Trentino. And so they definitely made some moves. Although TJ DeFalco came off the bench and was outstanding. 12 for 19 with 2 aces.
I don't understand why he's been coming off the bench for them. I really don't. And
He's
I mean,
hurt for a bit, and they're a dumpster fire because they start Fabian Zizga all the time, except this match they didn't. You keep Fabian Zizga on the bench, and good things happen. You can even beat Trentino every so often. Resovia, take some notes, figure it out.
Like Luetti is fantastic, but
he's not TJ DeFalco.
He's not TJ DeFalco.
Neither is Clement Chable.
No, neither of those guys are. In my opinion, I think you would start Chable and DeFalco, and you get Luetti to be the first guy off the bench.
Definitely.
Yeah, you give Chable a really short lease. Hey, what do I know?
Sorry, Resovia. Better luck next time. They drop down to the CEV Cup. Remember, that is how it works in Champions League now. That if you finish third in your pool and you don't make it out, you drop down to CEV Cup. And we'll talk about CEV Cup in a minute because there are a couple interesting things going on. But you ready to move on to the women, Everett, or anything else on the men?
No, that's about it from the men. Once again, very disappointed in Lundberg. I thought that they were a team that could have really come through, especially after the first couple of weeks. They got like a couple of big wins, and then the wheels fell off. But yeah, excited. When does this get started next week, right?
Week from today.
Men? Yeah, a week from today. Yeah, let's jump over to the women's side. Why don't we?
All right. Hit it, Everett. Read down the bracket. We've got same format, same 11 teams.
Same format, same 11 teams, and I will have to say it's a lot more even on the women's side of things. Like
kind of is.
It kind of is. Well, first and foremost, we have at the top of the bracket Fenerbahce, the number 1 seed. They will be playing
18-0 in sets.
Perfect from Fenerbahce. They won't even be getting Melissa Varga. Stesiak has been doing the job just as well, but they'll be taking on the winner of the all-German derby between Stuttgart and Potsdam. So that'll be a fun one, but let's be honest, we're all expecting Fenerbahce to make it all the way through. On the other side of the black bracket, Malonza. Also, I love how that they've just become Malonza, and that's how they will forever be in the war.
I typed that on the bracket last week, and I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think about calling them anything else. I just called them Malonza.
Malonza will be taking off on LKS Lodz out of Poland, so that one's going to be a good one. But let's be honest, a potential Fenerbahce Malonza matchup is beautiful. I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. On the bottom side, we Scandici getting the top seed there. Or is that the top seed? No, it must.
I think they were number 3 overall.
Yeah.
I think Miliana was number 2. I forget, but. Yeah, Scandici. They could have a. They'll. Well, let's just go ahead and say it. Scandici gets the winner of Zajabasha and Prometey. Good for your Prometey, Ukrainian team making it to the Champions League playoffs is awesome.
Good job.
3-0, 3-0. It's going to be a pool rematch. Scandici's already played at Zajabasha twice. Has beaten him both times. It's going to be.
I'm excited for that matchup too.
Me too.
I am really excited for that matchup. They were 2 good matchups the first time, and I think that's going to happen again. Scandici in Champions League with no foreigner limit is a scary team. Yeah, they could low-key be a good enough team to win the Champions League without the foreigner limit. Like when you've got everyone out there, it could be interesting, especially like how the Champions League in those 2 match scenarios sometimes breaks down. You know, could be happening.
I do like Scandici. I do like them in Champions League.
And then on the bottom, Vakif is going to be taking out Rzeszów in the playoffs. I mean, Rzeszów, you're a little bit better than Prometey, but still, thank you for participating. And that potential quarterfinal of Canigliano, honestly, the 2 quarterfinals from this side are both spicy.
Yeah,
they're both fantastic matches.
Yeah, and you have Antropova probably playing against Boskovic.
Yes.
And then you have Hawk probably playing against Jordan Thompson, which is awesome. And then on the top, maybe in the semifinals, you're going to get Stisiak playing against Paula Egonu. Like that's 6 of the top 7 opposites on the planet, only missing Melissa Vargas. And we're going to see some awesome head-to-head matchups. Also, don't sleep on Rzeszów. Remember, I think it was 3 years ago, I think we saw this. We also saw Zhezhov versus Vakifbank in the first round of Champions League playoffs, and Zhezhov stole a match. That was kind of where Kara Bayama put herself on the map. She was playing for Zhezhov at that point, and
Was it Zhezhov? Because I think
it was because there was another year when they lost a match to Busto in the semifinals.
no, it wasn't Zhezhov, because Zhezhov has in the past few years has been choking in the pools.
No, Zhezhov always makes it out of pools. Like them and Chemik Police seem to
No.
always make it out of pools, don't they?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna try and look up the Champions League archive and see if I can find
Yeah.
this thing. But yeah, I'm other than the all German game in the top there, like winner plays Fenerbahce, like that one will be competitive. But most of these play-in series are going to be there will be a heavy favorite. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to dig for this. All right, that's the bracket. Let's talk about what happened last week. It wasn't quite as dramatic as the men. Scandici beat Zajabasha again. It was a good game. So that was fun to watch. Vakifbank beat Malonza in 5. That was pretty fun to watch, although I didn't think it was the highest level of volleyball of all time. And
No.
definitely Vakifbank needed it more. But I mean, 5-setter between two pretty good teams is cool.
It was a little bit interesting. I thought we started to see God kind of wake up a little bit in this one, but it was messy on both sides of the court for sure. And that's what this Malonza team is so far is just characterized as being messy for me, anyways.
That there are 6 teams that could maybe win this tournament, and they all belong to Turkey and Italy. and that just kind of is what it is. I'm pulling up the stats. Let's see. Egonu 20 on 19 for 64. Whoa. 64 attempts and 10 errors. Not super efficient. And she didn't serve the ball great either. Karabayama off the bench, 14, 11 for 25. That's pretty good. Did not pass the ball well, though. And Miriam Silla, 14 on pretty low efficiency. Although Silla had 6 blocks, though. That's very impressive. Kenny just put something in the chat saying he saw comments of fans criticizing Oro for setting the left side too much. I mean, there's 51 attempts combined to the 2 outside hitters and 64 to Egonu. Like, I don't really agree with that. I would have given Bayama a few more balls, like when she got hot off the bench.
If I remember correctly, this match, and I mean, I have a little book that I write notes down, and I can't seem to find it right now, but it doesn't matter. I do think, well, like I'm just trying to remember. Like, it's been so many volleyball matches since I watched that one earlier last week.
Yeah, it was last Tuesday, I think.
It was literally a week ago. But I do remember Miriam Silla having a banger of a match in that one.
6 blocks for a wing is sick. That's really solid. But Malonza 2 aces, 18 service errors.
It was like some men's numbers over there.
That's what I was just about to say. Like that's bad for the men's game. Like,
yeah,
you can't be missing 18 serves in a women's match. Like that's not acceptable.
No, not at all.
Vakif's numbers, wow, these are not particularly impressive. I don't know how they won this match, honestly. Jordan Thompson, 15 for 48 with 12 errors. Got blocked 10 times. I don't know if I've ever seen one player getting blocked a double-digit number of times in a game. That's ridiculous. Zara Gunesh, not good on offense, 3 for 12 with an error. Ouch.
How did Vakifbank win this game?
I don't know, man. Like Gabi, 9 for 32 with 6 errors. Like Chako Bogu was really good for whatever that's worth. Ali Franti had 4 aces, but wasn't very good on offense. Like, I don't know how Vakifbank won this game.
I mean, it was all in the errors. Look at the different errors between. It's not terrible, but like 16 unforced hitting errors from Malonza, 18 serving errors. So
it's a lot.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Like, just watching that game, it was a 5-setter between 2 good teams, but it was far from my favorite match that I've watched this year. Like, it just
No.
wasn't, the level just wasn't really that high. Now, Malonza didn't really have that much to play for, to be fair. They had already locked up first in the pool once they took 2 sets. So take that for whatever it's worth.
Ooh, Gabby was really bad in this one, eh? I
Yeah.
said she was figuring it out, but I was completely wrong. That's
Yeah,
not the case.
I don't know what's going on there.
In serve receive, though, she's phenomenal. She's
Typical.
Yeah.
Might be the
Yeah.
best receiver
All right.
on the planet, and she doesn't even play libero. It's crazy.
Yeah. All right. Anything else to chat? Any other matches you want to chat here of the women? The women will also get started in 1 week. We have no Champions League this week.
Right. The last one that ended up being pretty darn dramatic was like the last match that was still going on. It was LKS Łódź hosting Le Canet, and Le Canet it went 5. It went like deep in the 5th. I think I had this one on. I think it was like 8-8 in the 5th or something like that. Le Canet's situation, that they were in that crazy pool E that had like 4 teams that all had a chance. Their situation was they needed to win the 5th set and they would get in. If they lose the 5th set, they were out. And they lost, I think, 15-12, 15-11. So I felt bad for them, but even LKS Łódź with really very little to play for, with Valentina Diouf on the right side of all people, she kind of carried them late in the 5th set. There was a, let's see, I remember there was a pretty crazy scramble rally that got Le Canet back within 1, and then a horrific float service error like 15 feet long that made me want to die. And then I think Łódź like turned a point in transition. It was basically over.
Was it a standing float?
It was.
Okay.
You know how I love float service errors.
I honestly, it is sometimes annoying to watch volleyball live with Rob because of how into it he gets and how upset he gets at missed float serve.
Bad volleyball makes me mad. Okay. Unless it's really bad volleyball is fun.
Really
like
bad volleyball is a lot of fun. Like
bad
that
volleyball from the good teams is not fun.
That one clip, like hillbilly volleyball from the Midwest, and they're just smoking each other through the net. You know you've seen that. You know you've seen that clip.
That's good stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I also wanted to shout out Fenerbahce because going 18-0 in sets in Champions League. I don't care who's in your pool. I know they were better than every team in their pool, but that's awesome. Good for them, and they're starting to get Anna Christina back. Like that team's going to be super scary.
Look at the men's teams who aren't able to do that, right? So,
yeah, that's true. They're the only team on either side to not drop a set.
Yeah,
I think they're the only team on either side to even get 18 points. I think.
Yeah, I think
Zerat didn't on the men's side.
No,
I wonder if Corneliano or Scandici did that. Let me see. Yeah, they both did. Both Corneliano and Scandici got 18 points, but Corneliano dropped 3 sets. Scandici dropped 2 sets. So both number 1 seeds on both men's and the women's side, both Turkish teams. Would not have picked that.
Interesting. I mean, I would have picked it from the women's side. Would have not picked it from the men's side.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this gets started next week. We'll give a couple more previews on next week's show. I wanted to talk about the CEV Cup for a minute.
Let's jump into the cup.
Because like I was saying, if you get 3rd in your Champions League pool and you don't make it out, then you drop down and you play in the CEV Cup. So like these four teams that we've been watching in Champions League are going to drop down and meet up with 4 teams that have just like won their, I think, 8th final series. And so now we have the quarterfinals in the CEV Cup on both sides. Zavierce beat Milano in Italy last week 3-0, and we couldn't watch the goddamn game.
I mean, we've been over this before in the CEV Cup.
But it's so annoying.
Whenever there's CEV Cup games because they're in Italy, right?
This one was, because the game before, the week before, was in Zavierce. So Polsat was able to meet the CEV's ridiculously high broadcasting standards, and Milano wasn't willing to foot that bill. So therefore, if you can't produce the game to the utmost level, the utmost standards of the CEV's 720p 30 FPS broadcast standards, then you can't stream it at all.
Which isn't even high.
I know that's the joke. It's not high at all. Like I did literally the VLA stream I did over the weekend was an iPhone from the baseline, shot at 1080p 60 FPS. Figure it out. Let us watch the games. I hate this. It would have been a fun game too. It was fun the week before.
I mean, it wasn't really. It was a 3-dong.
It was a 3-dong.
It was a 3-dong. So, but hey, you know what? It could have been a fun game. Who knows? But
so annoying.
Yeah.
And there was a fun series in men's CV Cup. The French team Nantes against some, I think, is a Greek team. Aeons Delorme, I think.
Luke Kerr, baby.
Oh yeah, that's Luke Kerr's team.
That's Luke Kerr. Yep.
Oh, cool. It was a 5-set banger. I think Nantes won like 19-17 in the fifth. Then it went to a golden set, and Milan won 15-13. So that's electric. Good for Luke Kerr. I didn't know that's where he was. That's great.
Yeah, he's in his second year there.
Fantastic. So we know the CV Cup matchups by now. We've got Zavierce versus Resovia, and Kenny in the chat saying that they're going to play each other twice in CV Cup and once in the Plus Liga in 3 straight weeks. That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I think it's like, and they're playing each other all on Thursdays too, which should be fun. But how is it that the 2 best teams now in the draw have to play each other in the quarterfinals, right?
The 2 best teams in the 8th finals played each other as well. Like Zavierce and Milano were the 2 best teams in the tournament at that point. I don't understand what's going on with like the seeding of these brackets.
I'm not even going to go into it. You know what I'm going to say, Rob? You know, I think we should be doing this. I think we should just be doing 1 big seed, and we'll just.
Yeah, the more stoogery that comes out of these CV club tournaments, the more I'm 100% on board with the way that you've described it. Make it 1 big tournament, play each other, sort it out. Seriously.
Yeah. You get slotted in based off if you're like Poland 2, then wherever Poland 2 finished the year before, that's where you get slotted in, and you're gonna win. And you know you'll if you win, you move up. You lose, you move down. Just make it 1 big ladder.
Yep,
that's the way it should be.
I do kind of like these quarterfinal matchups though. Zavierce versus Resovia is fun.
Yes.
Lundberg versus Milan is fun because it's a Canadian setter battle. A Luke Kerr versus Max Elger. That's pretty fun.
Go back to
Olympiacos. Olympiacos versus Arcus is fun. And Fenerbahce versus Mosaic is not fun. Mosaic is not fun. That team is bad.
Yeah.
That'll be
Arcus versus Olympiacos is the old man's cup. Like you've got a lot of old men in
a lot of dads on that.
There's a lot of dads out there. Yeah, there's a lot of dads. Yeah, I mean Arcus. We'll talk about it later. Arcus has been getting into some bangers recently in the Everett League. Like they've been kind of turning it on. Grosje's has been not been quieting down in any sense of the imagination.
Yeah, and then women's CV Cup, it was kind of a similar situation. You had Chieri from Italy playing Chemik Police from Poland, and Chieri beat them in 5 last weekend, so Chieri advances, and they're kind of the only good team left in the tournament. Although they do play Le Canet in the next round, which is kind of good, but a lot of the rest of these women's CV Cup teams don't really belong there at this stage.
I have to say, I have been enjoying watching Chieri play a lot.
Chieri's good, man.
Chieri's, in my opinion, Chieri. We were talking about this on the Discord. Me and Tommy, like Chieri might be the fourth best team in the Superliga right now, or like Volley Femminile. Sorry, they just don't have a player like Akimova that Novara has, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Chieri is a really, really good team. We'll talk about them a little bit today. They had another 5-set banger. I've never been so impressed by 2 straight losses from a team because they went to 5 with Canigliano last week, and they went to 5 with Malone this week. But both senses, I was really impressed with how they played. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, I would love to see them win the CEV Cup.
I think they're probably the favorite at this point. All right, enough about Europe. Before we move on to some of the individual countries, and then we've got some things to talk about in North America later. We got 2 things first. Everett, let the people know thatvolleyballstore.com.
Absolutely. Head over to thatvolleyballstore.com. Use the code SPICY to get 15% off your entire order. Yeah, big shout out. Also, if you made an order recently and you haven't got it, let me know. Contact us, because there was someone who called me and they let me know that something had happened and their order had gotten caught up. So just give us a call. Or she actually called me. Like the number on the website goes to my phone.
Really?
And I was like, I don't recognize this number. It was from the States somewhere. And I was like, hello. And she's like, is this that volleyball store? And I was like, yeah. She's like, is this Everett? And I was like, yeah. And luckily we were able to figure it out for her. But yeah,
Best
head over
customer service in the business right there. Everett Delorme himself.
exactly. Like now we're gonna start getting prank calls from everyone.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, if you use the code SPICY, you're gonna get 15% off of your entire order from thatvolleyballstore.com.
And one of the things that you can get from that volleyballstore.com is the Where's Daddy collection.
Daddy.
We love Daddy Stankovic on this program, and we love him so much that we hide him somewhere in the show, and you guys got to try and find him. That's the Where's Daddy segment. So at some point, Daddy Stankovic is hidden in the show. Maybe he's already shown up. Maybe he'll show up a little bit later. Last week, not subtle at all. Not subtle at all last week. I put him right front and center on this little Turkish setter for Marcus, mostly just because I wanted to see Everett's reaction when Daddy like front and center popped up on the screen. And if I remember right, it was pretty funny. Like you laughed and made like kind of a comment about it. So this one was not very subtle. We had a bunch of people that found him. Micah Green found him first, so good job. So yeah, Daddy was not very conspicuously hidden this time. A lot more conspicuous this time, I'll tell you that.
How many daddy heads do you have?
I have like 2.5 daddy heads. I mostly have 2. One where he's facing like a little to the left, and one where he's facing a little to the right. And then I have a third one that like has part of his shoulders on it. It's like it's this one, the one that from the Where's Daddy, the one from the Where's Daddy, asset here. And sometimes I have situations where I can put his shoulders in, but it's mostly just 2 head cutouts that I use.
All right, fair enough. Do we
This
need
one,
more daddy heads?
It certainly couldn't hurt. This one was just so good because even though it was so obvious, like the size and placement and angle of his head and the color, like the way that the photos
it does
match,
look very natural. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have to do anything here. I just like dragged it on and resized it, and it was an easy Photoshop job, and I thought it looked funny. So there was Daddy last week. Good job. You all found him. It wasn't a very hard one. I'll give you more of a challenge this week. But yeah, the way you find Daddy is if you see him, don't put anything in the live chat. You have to wait until after the stream is over and put a comment with the timestamp in the main YouTube comments section. That's how
you should start posting those on Instagram.
What the all the assets? I can make like a real compilation of all of them. That would be pretty funny. Yeah, I can do that. That'd be pretty good. It's such a shame that Dragon deleted Instagram. I'm so disappointed. The world misses him.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's search him up again to see if maybe he's gotten it back.
Maybe he's reactivated and hasn't gone public with it yet.
No, it hasn't happened.
Oh, that's so sad.
Dragan Stankovic.
Yeah, there's several other Stankovic's, but no Dragan. Very disappointing.
Yeah, it would definitely be like a blue check mark situation for him.
Has to be. I mean, have you seen it? Just look at him.
Have you seen it?
All right, let's move on to the league where Daddy plays. Let's move on to the Superliga. Honestly, I don't have that much to talk about the Superliga over this weekend. I did not watch a single game. I was very busy with the VLA. The only thing I saw is that Wilfredo Leon came back for Perugia and ripped a couple aces off the bench. Everett, what sort of things did you consume in Italy over the weekend, and what conclusions do you have, if anything? Because I don't have much.
I watched a few different matches. I was tuning into Trento versus Piacenza. Trento, they're the best adjusting team in volleyball, which is so surprising considering that they have a new coach. Like, they can make adjustments so quickly. Milano versus Lube was a very, very interesting one. Lube was having so much left side trouble until Bottolo came in, and he really saved the show for him. He was really, really good off the bench for them, and Bottolo won it.
The unlikely savior, Mattia Bottolo.
Yeah, and on the upside, the other side, like, people just couldn't get going for Milano. Riegers had an all right game. Like, everyone just had like a bit of an all right game. But both teams are so streaky in their different ways. Like, Milano takes care of details so well, and they just can tighten it up, whereas like Lube can just overpower you in certain situations. Like Chinyeze was their second highest scorer in this match after the Gumjia.
Wow,
And
13 for 18 for a middle, 2 blocks,
like
2 aces.
there was so many times
Whoa.
where you could just tell that like Chinyeze really takes an almost Robert Landy Simone types of role, where it's just like, just give me the ball, and I'm going to do something with it. In this one, so I actually thought Milano was going to take it. I was a little surprised for Lube to take it, but overall it was a somewhat sloppy but pretty fun match to watch.
Looks like Lube was up to, wait, am I reading this right? Yeah, Lube was up 2-0 and then really struggled after that. They lost 25-15 in the fourth, and then they figured it out.
Yeah, was that what happened? Yeah,
Looks like it. That's very interesting. How did so you said Trentino looked really good. They beat Piacenza 3-1. I'm looking at the stats now. Oh man, Micheletto, 16 for 26.
Yeah.
This guy is on an absolute another planet right now. He's playing so much better than everyone else in the world.
Yeah, and I mean like Trento won the first set, and then it was a nice bounce back from Piacenza, and like just right away, like you just see how they throttled them the next 16 and 15.
Oh,
like
I just noticed that just now.
Yeah, they just pour it on. They just really are relentless.
Wow.
They're so good this year. They're very efficient. They block well. They play good defense. They serve tough. They're just an overall solid team. You know, like it is going to be really hard for any team in the world to really put them off their game.
Yep, no weaknesses, and very mentally strong, and yeah, Trento's really good.
Yeah,
Good Robert Landy Simone stat line though, 8 for 9, 2 blocks and an ace.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a game changer whenever he's out there. Like that is just the deal. But you can't have Romano going 13 for 33 and making eight errors along the way, right?
Unacceptable.
Like, that is really tough. Like Leal came back and was all right offensively, but passing wise, he was a bit of a black hole. 30% positive
6 times.
Yeah, and ace 6 times. So there's still some problems for this Piacenza team. Like Ricci, he ended up get subbed out because he was really bad in this one. 2 for 6. Only ended up with 2 points. So I mean, hey, like Trentino just keeps on riding on the back of Kamil Ricci, the best right side in the Superliga, and they're
not gonna let me stop hearing about that one, eh?
I mean, I feel like this has been a consistent thing for me, and I've consistently thought that he was real good, and he just thrives in that Trentino system where real volleyball players thrive. That's what happens.
It is the best system for him. I'll agree with that. Oh my god!
Monza also dodged the.
Monza dodged. They dodged the Toronto bullet down south, eh?
Yeah, they dodged the Toronto trap, and they got out there with full out of the south with full 3 points. So that one's a real good one. Kyle Russell was actually pretty good in this one though. 17 points to lead Toronto in scoring. 16 for 30 out there, while Arthur Schwartz led the show for Monza. 19 for 35 and 22 points.
Wow. Okay. I did see a clip of Kyle Russell getting solo roofed by Ron Takahashi, though. That's not a great look.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. Ran has been struggling recently, especially offensively. This one he was passing a little bit better, but his offensive numbers are not great. 9 for 23.
That's a little questionable. How is Monza serving? That's always the question for them.
2 and 15, so not great. This was a not great serving day. Arthur Schwartz continues to be one of the worst servers in the Superliga with 6 errors and no aces.
We've talked about it. I saw people giving you a hard time in the Discord as if we haven't talked about this many times.
Yeah, like I'm not hiding behind the fact that Arthur Schwartz is not a fantastic server. He can be. He has that ability to kind of like tune it in sometimes, but his ace to error ratio is so
damn bad.
It's one of the things that that he really needs to get better at. how good Canada does at the Olympics will probably depend on how much better Arthur Schwartz gets at serving.
That will have a lot to do with it. Canada needs some service firepower somewhere, and that definitely has to get better.
Yeah.
I was just looking at Modena versus Perugia stats. This is a donging of epic proportions. 18, 17, 18. Yeah. Yikes. Sapochnikov was the only good player for Modena. And let's see, you Bentara 63%, Semeniuk 73%, Plotnitsky 69%. The middles like sky high kill percentage, like the 66% kills as a team for Perugia. Like, come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, this one was so fast that I was out doing some things because this one was on Saturday, and I was out doing some things, and I was just like, okay, cool. I'm gonna watch the Perugia game when I get home. And I got home and threw the game on, and Gianelli was doing his post game interview. So I was like, oh dang, like this was like it was a legitimately like an hour in a shower. Close to it was an hour and
it says 1:16. I'm surprised it even took that long. 9 aces, 14 errors too for Perugia. That's amazing. Now the question is, Everett.
What's the question?
Can Perugia do it in the Coppa Italia? We got that coming up this weekend. The Coppa Italia semis are this Saturday, and the final is this Sunday. Trentino versus Monza, followed by Perugia versus Milano. I think we're probably both on the same page that Trentino should get past Monza no problem, unless Monza.
As much as I love that Monza team, Trentino is a juggernaut at the moment.
They would have to have the serving game of their lives.
Yeah. I also like this Romo that was built out by the Italian Superliga or whoever runs it, because it honestly looks like a clip art thing that was done by a high schooler.
The worst graphics work in all of professional sports goes to the men's Superliga. It's so bad. Just look at their Instagram page. Just like go scroll through it. It's so bad. Like Liga Volley Femminile does a fantastic job with graphics.
Much better job, yeah. But it's
terrible.
Just absolutely. Especially like it's so weird. Like Italy is known for like style and design. But then again, you see like
it's actually even worse too. It actually looks like this. Look at this aspect ratio. This is posted on Instagram. Look at this terrible portrait aspect ratio. This is horrible. This is so bad.
My eyes, Rob.
I know. I'm glad that you brought it up. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to. I was going to go in on the Superliga graphics team a little bit because this is rough.
This is real bad. Like it has the phone number at the bottom. Like, it's why does volleyball suck so fucking much? Like why? Like why? Like this is the best league in the world, and they have promos equivalent to high school matches. Like seriously, this is I half expect this to be like, bring a toonie and get out of third period to watch the volleyball team play. Like, oh my god, volleyball sucks so damn much.
Oh my goodness, we're laughing because we're laughing through the helplessness of what we try and do over here. I am excited about these matches, though. I'm excited about Perugia versus Milano. Storylines write themselves. Obviously, there was the greatest collapse in sports history last year in the playoffs. What are your picks, Everett? Yeah, even this year, true. Who wins the semis and who wins the finals?
As I said, as much as I love this Monza team and as much as I would love to see them win, I don't think that's really in the cards, unfortunately. So I'm going to pick Trentino. I think that Monza makes it interesting. I think it's going to be a 3-1 with like some tightness in there. And then I think Perugia exercises some demons. I think they really unload on Milano in this one. I could be wrong, but who knows?
I think so too. I actually think the semis are going to be 3-0, 3-0. I think we're going to see 2 dongs on Saturday. Maybe even 6 dongs, if you will. But I think it's 3-0 Trentino and 3-0 Perugia. I agree that Perugia exercises some demons. I love Perugia serving recently. Having Wilfredo Leon to use as a service sub is an absolute cheat code. and Monza can't beat Trentino. I just don't see a world where that matches up. However, I think that Trentino versus Perugia is going to be awesome. I think it's going to be awesome. Fireworks.
Yeah. Before that, Rob, we actually have a full day of Superlega tomorrow.
Do we really?
Yeah, it is going to be a Superlega Wednesday going on tomorrow. A couple of notable matches. Monza is going to be taking on Verona, and Milano is going to be taking on Trentino. Those are going to all going to be going down live on Volleyball World TV. They're all going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern time. They're at 8:30 starts in Italy. And for those in Italy, you can watch Modena versus Padova on Rai Sports.
That one actually is on Thursday. That one's at least.
You're right. You're right.
Later.
Yep. I'm just stupid.
Oh, it's okay. So you got 5 games tomorrow. Oh boy, yeah, you got two bad ones, probably even 3 bad ones. Yeah, Monza Verona is good. Trentino versus Milano is good. That's cool. I didn't think I was going to have any volleyball to watch tomorrow. At least tomorrow during the day. We'll get to that. But we got some big European ball tomorrow. That's right. So that's Coppa Italia. That's coming up Saturday. The Lega Volley Femminile, we got just a couple matches to talk about, and then their Coppa Italia quarterfinals are actually tomorrow as well. So there is more volleyball tomorrow. It's really just the 2 5-setters. You mentioned Chieri putting up a good fight against Malonza in 5, and then Conegliano beat Roma in 5. And it's not the first time we've seen a very weird 5th set score in the Lega Volley Femminile this year. 5th set, Conegliano 15, Roma 4. 15-4.
That is a lot. That is a lot. That's 2 weeks in a row that they've really balled out in the 5th set. I did not watch that one. I was too engrossed in the Chieri versus Milano matchup because this one was a good one. This one was a really, really good one, and I almost thought that Chieri should have won it in 4. I thought that they should have clinched it in that 4th set. Chieri is, as I said, I've watched them pretty closely 2 weeks in a row now. Also, I have to give a shout out to the one Canadian announcer guy on the Volleyball World TV. The women, they have different people who do the women's Robs, and his name is escaping me right now. But he's actually been getting better. He actually commentates the plays as opposed to just laughing.
How about that?
So yeah, but Chieri has really, really impressed me over the past 2 weeks. And I mean, in this one, you didn't really see Grabelna as much. It was Anthuli, Ivodka, Martha Anthuli out of Greece. And now she is like a Lidl Stesiak. She's a big, big, big body. So much so that I actually think that's what kind of lost them the game. She was gassed in the 5th set. Barely jumping, and she was barely an option. We did see Grabelna a little bit. She did start the 4th, but didn't really see her. I thought that they should have brought her in more. I think she must have been tired after the CEV Cup a little bit. Camilla Weitzel continues to be one of my favorite up-and-coming middles out of Germany. She's so much fun. And then
good server too.
Yeah, and then Oma Rui was solid in this one. She needed to figure it out a little bit offensively, but for a while they had Avery Skinner in there, who I think has been fantastic. And she started now, but she started going away, and they brought in Madison Rochelle or Madison Kingdon.
Yeah, formerly Maddie Kingdon. Yes, okay. She put up some numbers. Yeah, this team's good. It's not they have 3 legit outside hitters. It looks like they have 2 opposites. Yeah, this Anthuli girl, I've never seen her. She's a 2004.
2004. She's super
2 meters and 4. She's massive.
Yeah, so she's a big body out there. But you could tell that she was just gassed. So I think it was a lot because Grabelna took a big load when they played Conegliano last year. Then they had that last week. Then they had that midweek game in the CEV Cup. So this Chieri team is really, really interesting. And I know Tommy said at the beginning of the year when we did the preview with him about how, they really I think Weitzel and Grabelna are 2 of the only athletes that they had from last year's team. And they really strip things down and move things forward. And this Chieri team has been a lot of fun to watch these past 2 weeks, really pushing. I mean, in this one, if you notice, Malonza started Agonu and Oro on the bench in the 4th. That was the big one. who is it that they had Victoria Prandi setting, and
Adu Malawal probably is their backup opposite.
on the opposite. They didn't bring them in until late in the fourth. When
10 unforced errors for Egonu. Wow, interesting.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
Also, I have to say, one of my favorite players to watch recently has been Sonia Kennedy in the middle for Malonza. She's been stepping up big time and really providing some energy down the middle for her. So,
also one of the only middles in the world I can think of that regularly gets used as a serving sub. She comes in and rips jump spinners off the bench all the time. It's pretty cool.
She is a fantastic server. She actually had she didn't have an ace in this one, but
looks like she did.
No, she did. She did. Yeah.
She had one in 3 attempts, no errors.
Yeah,
good for her. So the reason I was thinking that Chieri probably rested Kaya Gobrelna a little bit was for this. We've got the Coppa Italia quarterfinals tomorrow, and I think 3 of the 4 will be pretty lopsided. Conegliano versus Firenze should be a beatdown. Malonza versus Roma. Roma's a nice story. Can they hang with Malonza? No. And Scandici versus Pinerolo, also a nice story. Scandici should stomp them, but you get Chieri versus Novara, and I'm super excited about that. The 4 versus 5 game, exactly like you said, Everett. Like, I think people would think of Chieri differently if they had an explosive player like Akimova, like Novara does.
Yeah, if Chieri can figure out, like, there's just a few holes. Almarui needs to really step up and be that they need their Italian option on the left side to be really good. And so she needs to step up and be really good. And I'm not entirely sure if Grabelna is that next level opposite to kind of push them forward.
I don't think she is. I think she's a good opposite. She's not the Akimova level opposite. But other than the middles, I think Chieri matches up super well with Novara everywhere else.
Yep. Very much so. So I think I'm definitely going to be watching that matchup today or tomorrow. That would be a good one.
Yep. 2:30 p.m. Eastern are 3 of the 4 Coppa Italia quarterfinals are all at the same time. Scandici versus Pinerolo is a little bit earlier. So yeah, we get the quarterfinals in the higher seeded teams' home gyms, and then we wait about 3, maybe 4 weeks for the semifinals and the finals, kind of like the men are doing this weekend.
Yep. And of course, you've got 3 Coppa Italia and 3 Superlega matches, 5 Superlega matches, all going down at the exact same time. Gotta love it. So great.
Unbelievable. Well, completely believable. This is Italy we're talking about.
This is volleyball we're talking about.
This is volleyball we're talking about. Let's move on. I looked through the Plus Liga stuff and I didn't really see anything. And we already talked about ZAKSA. So I want to move on to the Effeler League because you alluded to it earlier about Arcaspor, who has really figured it out in many ways.
They've been training on, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're mostly doing it with Nick Hogue on the bench, which I know will make a lot of people.
I heard he got hurt this week.
Yes,
but there have been a lot of comments that he is taking too much playing time, and that maybe it is because his dad is the head coach.
I mean, no comment.
I thought so. Yeah, this was a sick game. Halkbank beats Arcus in 5, 23-21 in the 5th. It's crazy. Grozer had a huge game, right? Oh man,
33. Yeah.
Whoa.
33 points for Grozer. He was 28 for 44. He hit 64%. Only had 4 errors too, which is pretty gnarly. But of course, Namir had to be up there as well too. He had 35 in this one. He went 34, 31 for 49, 63%. With a block and 3 aces. How many aces for Grozer? Just two. But
2.
Hey, that was the difference. Efe Madaracha also had 22 in this one for Arcus.
I'm happy that kid is back, man. I really like him. Did get blocked 7 times. Micah Maha had 4 blocks. Shout out.
Oh, love that. Engapeth had 16. It was all right. Legumzia had 14 for Halkbank.
Yeah, pretty good games from both those outside hitters. So who's Arcus's third outside? If Hogue is out, across from Mondura. Oh, Burutai Tsubasa. Yeah, the lefty
Yeah.
from the national team.
I mean, and
man,
Tsubasa.
how has that team been so bad so far this season? Why are they just now only figuring it out?
Maybe because they were playing Nick Hogue. Which hurts me to say. It's like Nick is like
Nick's the man. I love him.
Nick's the man. He's the guy. Like he's done so much for Canadian volleyball over the years. I know a lot of people are going to maybe disagree, but I wouldn't say that. But yeah, it looks like they're doing better without him. Jordan Canham getting off the bench was nice, though. Love to see that.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, let's turn. Well, before we turn our attention stateside, we got speaking of Canadian news. Let's go, Dan Lewis.
Love to see that.
Dan
Lewis will be taking over. I think I saw that the coach for Poitiers has been there for like 45 years. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, if you're
I have check. I have no idea.
But yeah, like Dan Lewis will be taking over Poitiers, and he is on a 2-year contract. Of course, everyone had to point out that right under it says recommended by Glenn Hogue, because we have to publicly show the Glenn Hogue stamp of approval when it comes to anything in Canadian volleyball. But I do understand Glenn Hogue is revered and very well respected in French volleyball. He spent a lot of time with their national teams and stuff like that. And so yeah, but ultimately, like, I absolutely love this. I think Dan is a guy who's been coaching with the national team since he retired from the team in 2016. He has been the assistant coach since then. He led the team in the 2019 World Cup. And especially what you see when you see what he's done with the B team over the past 2 summers, where, last summer they got second at the Pan Am Cup, beating the U.S. and just losing to Cuba. And this summer actually winning the Pan Am Cup, once again beating the U.S. and beating Brazil. He's done a lot of good. So I'm excited to see what he can do with this team. And there's very few North American professional coaches. I think that he would be I think he's the only North American coaching in a major league. Like, can you think of any? There's no American guys.
No.
None of the other Canadian guys. Like, there's a few Canadian coaches who I've known.
Hogue.
Oh yeah, Hogue. Duh.
Man, yeah, that's crazy when you put it that way. I mean, yeah, good for Dan Lewis. I mean, I loved him as a player. I always thought that he would translate well into coaching. Seems like he's done an outstanding job with some of the Canadian junior, youth, and B team groups, and I'm excited for him. And I mean, right now, Poitiers' roster has 3 Canadians on it: Brett Walsh, Matthias Elser, Jackson Howe. So this is a very good incentive to maybe keep those guys around for another year. Also, our boy Javier Concepcion is on that team. Fun team. What are you doing over there, Everett? He's all scrambled.
I lost my audio. You still hear me?
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Okay. No, we're good. Yeah. My cord got tangled up in my chair, and I pulled on it, and I unplugged it. We're all good.
Take off the headset. You're not plugged into the headset. You're just talking to the computer mic now. But that's okay. You sound good enough.
Yeah.
There you go. You did it.
Yep. But yeah, ultimately, congratulations to Dan Lewis. He will be still with the B team this summer, and then he'll be heading over to France after that. So
cool. I like that.
Love that.
All right, let's turn our attention to North America. We got a couple things to talk about here before the show's over. I want to do VLA first, just because it'll be quick. This is a sick tournament that the VLA put on in San Diego. This was a sick tournament. 12 teams. The 7 seed beat the 5 seed in the final. This was as chaotic of an event as we've ever thrown. And shout out to the Chandler Team IX, dude. This team is literally the feeder team for the Tier 1 Phoenix Ascension. And the basically the minor league affiliate that directly feeds players up to the Tier 1 level comes out and wins the VLA Cup tournament. And this was so sick. There's a bunch of young, explosive NAIA mostly product kids from the greater Arizona area, plus a libero from the Mexican national team. Shout out to Jesus Izaguirre. He was amazing. Come in and win this tournament. It was so sick. And they won a 5-setter in the morning in the quarterfinal. They won a 5-setter in a reverse sweep in the semifinal. And then They beat the Dallas Dogs in the final. So it was super fun event, and very unpredictable. And I had a great time.
Yeah, I also tuned in on this one. I was in the chat briefly at one point, and then watch the finals later. This just continues with my theory that basically tier 1 of the VLA is useless and is unneeded, because I honestly don't remember any time, like, has there ever been a time when an open tournament has been won by a tier 1 team?
Last year, all 3 were won by tier 1 teams.
That's semantics. But once again, you have the tier 2 teams pulling it forward. I mean, hey, this was a really good one. I really enjoyed watching it. I loved how at one point on Saturday you had the unicorns playing the villains.
That was great.
Like, this is just absolutely perfect, and
fairy tale stuff. It was great.
Yeah. Also, the coach for Chandler Team 9, he just looks like the biggest G. Just looks like the biggest G possible. But yeah, honestly,
100%. We got some good characters in the VLA.
I want to call out the tier 1 teams. Like, if you're telling me that the difference, and you and Vince talked about it during the broadcast, that the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 is commitment, and that you're spending more time in the gym, then you should be blowing everyone away. Like, I'm sorry, Ascension, like, if you're playing for that tier 1 Ascension team and your feeder team is going to go win this tournament, you should be embarrassed. That being
I agree with you. I agree with you. This is not a good look for the Phoenix Ascension's A team. I can tell you that much.
That being said, here's what I'm going to say, Rob. If you are in the GTA, if you are in the Greater Toronto area, and you think you could play on a VLA team, shoot us a message on Volleyball Source. I'm legitimately setting up runs, and who knows? Maybe it'll one day end up being a VLA team. We're setting up some runs. So let us know. Come join, and then we're going to go down there and beat all the tier 1 teams, Pineapple and stuff.
Well, speaking of Team Pineapple, they are in action this weekend. We got more ball going on in Chicago. I'm very excited for 2 of these 3 teams. It's the 2 Chicago teams. Icemen and Swede are going to be really good. Andre Brown is playing for the Chicago Icemen, Everett. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I'm very aware, of course. Gotta love the Canadians going down south to play in the VLA.
Yeah, I'm stoked about having Andre. So both the Icemen and Swede are going to be really good. Those are going to be fun games, but I am not particularly high on Team Pineapple. I would be stunned. I would be stunned if they won a match this weekend. I just don't think that they have their priorities in order on the VLA level. Like, they're trying too hard to get guys that are all local-ish to Northeast Indiana so that they can have some practices. That's not a hot enough pocket of volleyball players. You need to be pulling from the entire Midwest. They need to be pulling from the entire Midwest. And I think that's what they're going to learn the hard way this year, is that they need to reapproach the way they bring their talent to some of these things, because I have a feeling that they're going to get dusted. But I could be wrong. I actually said the same thing going into the first event last year in the Central Division, and Team Pineapple, I think, went 3-1. So you never know.
Okay, what's the difference? So this event is just a tier 1 event, correct?
Yep. This is like a regular season event. It's a double round robin where everyone plays 4 matches. So these all count for like regular season standings. Well, so do the matches that the tier 1, 2 teams play in cup events also count. But this is 1 court, 3 teams, like very simple, like regular season division rivalry sort of volleyball.
Okay, great, love it. It looks like there's a lot of volleyball on this weekend, so if I get time, I'll tune into the VLA. But those later games, especially those 4 and 3 p.m. games, those will be doable for
sure. Speaking of North American volleyball in the evenings, we have not talked about this very much yet, but it's time. It's time to talk about the Pro Volleyball Federation, real pro volleyball as they're calling it. I hate that. I hate the way that sounds, and I'm not going to use. Horrible. So I'm going to call it either the PVF or the Pro Volleyball Federation, because that's what it actually is.
Yes.
This is one of the 2 large-scale women's volleyball professional efforts that's being put together right now. There's this one, and there's League One. League One is a full year behind.
They're
not playing. Is it November of this year? I thought it was
November.
2025. Okay.
Yeah, November of this year. Yep.
either way, the Pro Volleyball Federation kicks off their league's existence tomorrow, and I'm very curious about this. The Atlanta Vibe takes on the Omaha Supernovas, I think is what they're called.
Yep.
Yeah, the Omaha Supernovas. So that's tomorrow night, and then Columbus at Grand Rapids and Atlanta at Orlando on Friday. If you follow NCAA ball or even like a little bit of USA Women's National Team, you're going to recognize some names. I mean, Brooke Nonaviller is a name. She played VNL this year. Asia O'Neal obviously is the name. She was the #1 pick in the draft. Like you'll see some names that you recognize. I'm less curious about the volleyball. I'm curious about the product. I'm curious about the broadcast and the marketing and the commentary and just like everything about how this is presented. It will be streaming live for free, which is nice, on some app called, or on some website called Stadium that I haven't heard of.
And I've already checked it out. Like I'm Stadium is working for me right now in Canada. So
really, so it's not geo-blocked for you? Okay,
it's not geo-blocked, which I am excited about. Like I am legitimately, Rob. Like I'm going to maybe order myself a pizza and get some beer, and I'm gonna sit back and treat this like this is football, like primetime volleyball, pro volleyball at 7:30. That's not AU and whatever Athletes Unlimited is. Like I'm stoked for this. There's a couple of Canadian girls playing in this one too. China Joseph's gonna be playing in Orlando.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm super excited about this. We've talked about this before, but I really like the time is ripe. Like look how good those jerseys look. Like those look like nice jerseys. And it's not like there's a lack of athletes to choose from. There's such a wealth of athletes in the NCAA. This is so exciting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Morgan Hentz plays for Atlanta. Like she's played VNL. Josiana Presley was a player of the year for Baylor a few years ago. Grace Cleveland went to Purdue. She's on Atlanta. And then let me look at Omaha. Brooke Nonaviller is a big name. Sydney Hilly was a rock star setter at Wisconsin. Kendall White's played national team. Danielle Hart's played national team. Tori Dixon has played national team. Bethania De La Cruz is on the Omaha roster from the Dominican Republic. So like I'm really, really curious. I'm excited and I'm curious about what is this product going to look like, because I don't doubt that they've assembled some decent athletes.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some doubts about the organization. There are aspects of the Pro Volleyball Federation that seem to me to be cobbled together really, really quickly. I think that they may have been in a situation where they felt like they were in a race and they were trying to beat League One to the court, to playing volleyball, and they're going to do that. My question is that going to be worth it? And I'm really curious to see, like, learn more about what's going on behind the scenes.
That it is going to be interesting, because this is really what, like, tomorrow kicks off really the first step in what is, I expect to be a big, fun women's volleyball wars in the United States, right? Like we are really starting to kick off with some big names and some big hitters. And I also thought that when I heard that they were trying to start as early as they are, that this was a little bit quick, you know? I mean, in Canada, we've all been enamored with the sort of the PWHL, right? The Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yeah.
And they turned that thing around real quickly. Like they only had like a few months to basically make a new Professional Women's Hockey League, but there was the framework of previous leagues that have been there before. We're starting something brand new in markets that are brand new. Like this is something altogether brand new. And when you look at this, yes, there's some big names for PVF. There's no doubt about that. But when you look at the weight of the names behind
League One, it's
One,
much more significant.
And the athletes that they have, it's huge. But I'm so thrilled that this is happening. I'm so stoked. I'm going to watch as much of it as I possibly can. I, like you, I really hope that they have some good commentators and they put a good product out there. Because if Volleyball World has taught us anything, is that if you put a bad product out there, it's just going to be mediocre.
Yep. The on-court product is not everything. When you're talking about the consumption of sports and sports media, the on-court product is only the beginning. There's so much more that you have to get really good at, and that's what I'm curious to see. But I'm excited about it. I really am. I'm going to watch as much as possible. I'm happy that even though the broadcast is a little bit scattered, at least it's not geo-blocked, and at least it's free. That's an amazing what they've done. And the fact that if you're going to do it for free, I feel like you might as well put it on YouTube, right? If you're not going to charge anybody to watch it on these random websites, like why wouldn't you just put it on YouTube and make more money off of it there?
Well, I mean, like,
but whatever.
Like, I mean, this is what, like, Stadium clearly does this. Like Stadium is a legit thing, and it looks like almost to be like a bar stool type of outfit, right? Like they have their own, not like in the funny way, but like they have their own like shows and whatnot, and they talk about, you know, football and basketball and the MLB and the NFL and whatnot. So,
well, we'll see. Tune in tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we will put links and stuff in the Discord. We'll be talking about it. And yeah, this is a big week of volleyball. A lot of games tomorrow. We've got women's Coppa Italia. We've got men's Superlega. We've got Pro Volleyball Federation kicking off tomorrow night. Then a loaded weekend as well. And I do think that, unfortunately for you European viewers, we love you guys. We've had a good year of doing the show in the morning North American time. That is no longer going to be the case. I believe 7:30 p.m. Eastern will be the time going forward, likely on Mondays.
Mondays, correct. Mr. St. Clair is once again working during the day, so can't do it.
Yep. I know you guys will watch it anyway because you love the show. You can also listen to it in audio form if you want. Make sure you're subscribed here to Volleyball Source. Join the Volleyball Source Discord, links in the description, and hit up that volleyballstore.com for some gear.
Absolutely. And make sure to tune it in, and make sure, you know what, come join us in Ottawa. Join us in Ottawa.
Yeah.
For the
Can't say that early enough. Got to get yourself there. Get
yourself there. Get yourself into Ottawa.
100%.
Maybe we should,
boys and girls,
to TD Place and see if we can like get our own little Volleyball Source section.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Would you guys, if we did that, would you guys come? Let us know.
Be crazy if they didn't. All right. Thank you, people, for watching. We're out of here. We'll see you next week.
We love you. Goodbye.